What is up, YouTube? We're back with another YouTube video, and we're here today with an Exodus Garden 2A Legend Lost Sector guide. Now you can see where it's located on your map here, but if you don't know where it's at, make sure you go to the Cosmodrome and then spawn in over here at the steps. Now I'm going to show you how to get here because it can be a little confusing if you're new. So instead of going forward when you spawn in, turn around and make your way through this little complex area. So you're going to see we're going to have some enemies here. You could try to bring your Sparrow, but with the amount of enemies that you'll run into, most of the time they end up just shooting at it, and it's just going to make it a lot harder. So I recommend just running through here. If you really wanted to, you can throw a grenade or something, go invisible, and not have to worry about it, like I could do here. And you can see I'll just be invisible, run through it. But generally, you shouldn't have to worry too much about it. But once you reach here, this is the end of it, so it's not too long of a walk. It's not like the other side of the Cosmodrome where you have to spend like 5 minutes walking. Here it takes literally less than a minute. Then you can see the Lost Sector symbol there, but you're gonna want to jump here on this broken path and then just jump up here, and you can see the symbol again and the flag. If you don't see the flag or the symbol on your map right here, that means you have to complete it normally to unlock Legend and Master difficulty. So what you're gonna want to do is drop, work your way inside the Lost Sector, and at one point you'll see that it says Exodus Garden 2A, and that's how you know that you're ready to complete it. You're going to see right here, it's going to say it. Go through the Lost Sector normally, kill every single enemy, kill the boss, and loot the chest at the end to unlock Legend and Master difficulty Lost Sector runs. So now we're going to run back up here, and now we are going to go over the modifiers. So the modifiers we have today are shielded foes. You'll face combatants with void shields. Legend modifiers are locked loadout and extra shields. Equipment locked, limited revives, barrier and overload champions. Void threat, 25% increase to incoming void damage. Scorched earth, enemies throw grenades significantly more often. And overcharged weapons. Weapon overcharges from the seasonal artifact are active in this activity. Kinetic weapons do increased damage when your subclass element matches an active surge. Then Arc Surge, 25 bonus to outgoing arc damage. Void Surge, 25% bonus to outgoing void damage. And then Overcharged Linear Fusion Rifle, which is a 25% bonus to Linear Fusion Rifle damage. Now, if completed solo, exotic head armor is rare, so if you're a warlock, you can try to get the new exotic helmet from here today because it's exotic head armor. Now, enhancement cores, uncommon, and recommended power is 1830, but 1815 and above you should be fine. So now, with the modifiers and everything out the way, let's get into the build, and then we'll get into the gameplay. So here's the build / loadout that I have put together for this. Now you're going to see here, right off the bat, Void subclass. So Shadow Shot, Mobius Quiver, with Marksman Dodge, Triple Jump, Snare Bomb, Vortex Grenade, Vanishing Step, and Stylix Executioner. Then for our fragments, we have Echo of Explosion, Echo of Remnants, Echo of Undermining, and Echo of Reprisal. Now, for my kinetic slot, we're running Duty Bound, and it doesn't have to be Duty Bound specifically. If you don't have this, don't worry about it. You can use any kinetic auto rifle in the game. So I don't have any other options here to show you, but just use any kinetic auto rifle. I highly recommend using a kinetic because when you use a Void subclass for this Lost Sector, you can match that Void Surge. Now what that means is with the modifiers that I just read, you're going to get increased kinetic damage when matching your subclass to an active surge. So since the active surge is Void, we use Void subclass, we're getting increased kinetic damage with whatever weapon, right? That's why I'm recommending an auto rifle, because for one, we're going to use it to break barrier champion shields, and we're also going to do increased damage with it. So if you use a strand auto rifle, it's not going to do increased damage, but kinetic one will do increased damage. So that's why I have that here, and I recommend getting one with at least a relatively big magazine. As you can see, without a backup mag, it's 49 bullets in the magazine. With backup mag, it makes it 57, which I think is pretty much great. I think 49 is good as well, don't get me wrong, but if you can have extra, I always recommend having it, because the most annoying thing about barrier champions is when they have their shield out, you're shooting, and let's say for whatever reason, if I'm using a gun with 25 bullets in it, right, I missed a couple shots, I'm getting pushed by enemies, I gotta back up. Next thing you know, instead of having 50 extra ones to shoot down the range, I have to reload, I gotta adjust, and by the time you go back to the barrier champion, they have full health, you missed your opportunity and stuff. So just always try to have a kinetic auto rifle with a big magazine size. So that's why I have Duty Bound here. My secondary, Le Monarch, it's a void weapon, so we're taking advantage of that void surge. It has overload champion rounds, which are going to help us, obviously stun overload champions. And I prefer this every single time over whatever overload weapons are in the artifact. For example, it's scout rifle and trace rifle. You can go, by all means, if that's what you want to do, go ahead and use them. But I highly recommend Le Monarch. You don't have to worry about special ammo. You don't have to worry about running for ammo bricks and stuff. And it's relatively consistent, because for other things you might have to do a couple shots. For example, like overload scout rifle, you have to charge up your overload shot, then you got to use it, shoot like 3 shots, and then the 4th one is going to stun, right? Here, it's always going to be the first one after you charge the overload shot. So really useful in my opinion. I love the Monarch as a bow, and plus just using it with this void build with Gerfalcons makes it pretty much like OP in my opinion. So it has good synergy with the build, and we're going to get into that when we talk about Gerfalcons. But for my heavy slot, Retrofit Escapade, now you don't need to get this, because I understand if you're a new player, this is not easy to obtain. I'm pretty sure you can't even obtain a crafted version, because it's a Season of the Seraph weapon from before Lightfall. So, before I get the comments saying that I gotta, use weapons that everybody can use whatever you want in the heavy slot if you don't have this. Preferably, if you can, use an arc heavy weapon, something like the Swarm if you have it. And if not, you can use something like Hothead or just any arc or void weapon. That way you take advantage of damage buffs. If you have a Taipan, that's something you could use. I didn't use it just because I'm not a big fan of it. Even with the damage buff, like, these are crazy broken. Like, they were the meta, right? Before Lightfall came out, and then when Lightfall came out, they nerfed them. So for me, it's just not really worth it to use these. But if this is your only option, it is something you can use. Now for my armor, starting off with the helmet, Ashes to Assets, Kinetic Siphon, and Void Siphon. Ashes to Assets is going to let you gain bonus super energy on grenade kills, and Kinetic Siphon and Void Siphon is going to allow you to get rapid kinetic weapon final blows to create an Orb of Power, and Void Siphon is going to be rapid void weapon final blows to create Orbs of Power. Now, Firepower is going to let your grenade final blows create Orbs of Power, and then Grenade Kickstart is when your grenade energy is fully expended, you gain grenade energy, and then Void Loader increases your reload speed of void weapons. Now, like I said, Firepower is just going to give us extra orbs. So look, we already have 3 ways of making orbs, which is relatively easy. And like I mentioned earlier, you can see Kinetic and Void Siphon. Our kinetic weapon is right here, and our last 2 weapons are void weapons. So no matter what weapon we use, we're generating orbs. If we get a grenade kill, we're generating more orbs. And when we use that grenade, and once you use it, your grenade energy is fully expended. You don't have any because you just used it. You gain grenade energy. And then Void Loader is just here because, mainly for the bow, because it's a bow, you can only shoot 1 shot, and then you have to reload the arrow and stuff. So that's going to help you reload faster. That way you can be a little faster with killing enemies and stuff like that. And then also for the machine gun too, because it's an LMG, you have to reload. It takes like a solid 30 seconds or whatever. Then using the reloader will allow you to reload faster. Now, for Gerfalcons, this exotic is like the core of this build. If, let's say, you're not that great with survivability and stuff, this will allow you to pretty much do whatever you want in this Lost Sector. So, after being invisible, your void weapons will gain volatile rounds, and finishers while invisible grant bonus damage for all weapons and a reserve overshield for allies. Now, all we really care about is the first part. The after being invisible, your void weapons gain volatile rounds, because let's say you dodge to go invisible. Once you come out of being invisible, that's when everything really starts to work together. So once you get these volatile rounds, you're doing increased damage. You're getting like a little void explosion that's going to go around. Then you pair that with Le Monarch, which is going to allow you to have the benefits of all of that. And it adds the poison arrows that the bow uses. And you can use all of that against overload champions and the boss and barrier champions. So it's all pretty useful. They all work hand in hand. And it's just a really good exotic overall. So if you're a hunter main and you don't have one of these, I highly recommend you get one. But you're going to see here on the armor I have charged up, which increases the maximum number of stacks of armor charge you can carry by 1, and 2 voids damage resistant mods, and this is reduces incoming void damage from combatants, and I have 2 of them because of that void burn that the enemies have, because they do increase damage from void. Then leg armor is better already. Your health begins to regenerate immediately after picking up an orb of power. So again, we're generating orbs. We're getting benefits for picking up these orbs, whether it be for armor charges and to heal us at the same time. Then kinetic weapon surge and void weapon surge, which is another bonus to picking up orbs of power. You'll get your kinetic weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have an armor charge, and void weapon surge will be your void weapons gain a small bonus to weapon damage while you have an armor charge. So you can see, pretty useful. And remember, all we're using is 1 kinetic weapon with 2 void weapons, so no matter what weapon we use when we pick up an orb, we're always going to do increased damage. And then 2 time dilation mods. Wow, I really stuttered right there, but 2 time dilation mods, and your decaying armor charge has a longer duration, and this is just to make it last as long as possible. And then Bomber, which reduces your grenade cooldown when using your class ability. So again, we're using abilities, we're using a whole bunch of stuff without having to do too much effort, and that's always pretty easy to do here. Now, to make this all work, I am going to recommend some artifact mods. So off the bat, make sure you get anti-barrier auto rifle. Then I recommend that you get authorized mods of void. That way your armor energy cost of all armor mods affecting your void weapons are significantly discounted. Meaning, for example, if you look here, right? If I take void loader off and I took that void discount mod off, I wouldn't be able to use this. This would cost like 3 or 4 energy costs or something. But now that I have it on, it's always going to cost 1. So that's why you're able to get that, and you're able to get your weapon surges and everything discounted. But then another key part to this, which I referenced in the video, or that you're about to see, I don't know why I said video, but it's the gameplay. I recorded that before recording this, and you're going to see there's void breaches, and I ended up calling it a void rift. I couldn't remember that they were called breaches, but picking these up will grant you void subclass energy, so that's going to be very useful. So if you're a hunter, you can go invisible faster. If you're a warlock, you can generate rifts faster, and if you're a titan, you can generate those barricades faster. Now, protective breach, this is going to allow you to pick up a void breach, and it gives you an overshield. Now, to take this one step further, you can pick up a void breach, and it's going to cause your next source of void damage to create a large weakening pulse. So you can see with these 3, you can have pretty much a little void build all by itself. So now you're stacking that and mixing it with the weapon surges that we have, the abilities that we have with Gerfalcons and everything. Really useful, and it's a pretty cool build to use. Then we have counter charge, so you can gain a stack of armor charge when you stun a champion. So let's say you spam stun a champion like 3 times, that's 3 armor charges for free without having to pick up orbs and not having to do a whole lot. So those are the ones that I really recommend that you get. So that's going to do it for the artifact and everything. Let's get straight into the gameplay. So you can see here we just started, and here in the first room we're going to have these enemies. Servitors are always going to have these void shields, so make sure you just deal with that with the monarch to make it a little easier. And the orange health bar, I'm not going to lie, is pretty annoying on them. You can see they're taking damage, but you can just get a finisher and you should be fine. Now this should go away, so I could, there we go. See, I'm getting shot from all sides over here, so just pretty much take your time, then you don't have to worry too much about taking too much damage. Then here you're gonna have this barrier servitor. Now I'm gonna back up real quick just because of those shanks and everything. You can see the barrier servitor is gonna make them all immune, so that's probably the most annoying part, is that you can't do any damage to them just because they're immune. So I'm gonna start shooting with my auto rifle. I'm gonna take my heavy out and just make sure I do some damage here. There we go. Now make sure, if you're using your class ability and stuff, to pick up these void, I forgot what they're called. Wow, just make sure you pick up those little void rifts because they're gonna allow you to get class energy back, and they're gonna let you get it faster, and that's obviously great. But for this overload champion, let's just deal with them, and then use my heavy, go for the finisher, and then here we're just gonna have a red health bar enemy. Now here you're gonna see the next half, and here is just gonna be pretty much ad clear. You can see with a Monarch, if you're hitting those crits and they're grouped up together and the poison damage spreads, it's pretty easy to clear out groups. Now the Resilient Vandals, I recommend to deal with them first because they're annoying. They're just going to sit there and try to snipe you the whole time. And watch for the Exploder Shanks because they're pretty annoying. You do not want to get hit by all like 3 or 4 of those at the same time because obviously that's going to do a lot of damage to you. And you might waste a res token there. But here's another overload. And I'm just going to go straight in with heavy. Do some crit damage. I'm going to switch back so I can try to stun. I don't like that he's teleporting like that. And of course he gets some of his health back. Because why not? Okay, and now the barrier champion made him immune. This is just toxic. Make sure we just use a super there, just to kind of make this a little easier. Now he's moving around. God, I hate this. Just get rid of that. There we go. I'm gonna see if I get the stun. Spread some of that void damage. Now, obviously, for you, it might be easier, it might be harder, depending on where the AI goes. For example, if my overload champion didn't, you know, teleport to the left where I couldn't shoot him, then he would have died a lot faster. So hopefully you get some good luck and you stun them and you can kill them fast enough to where they don't teleport. But you can see we were able to deal with that, and you can see with how many orbs are generating and everything, we're getting supers back fast, so that's great. And you can see the void damage with the void weapon surge in play right now. Now, I don't know if... Okay, I was going to say, because this is where they spawn the exploder units and stuff, so try not to push that, because next thing you know, you're going to get hit with a bunch of solar damage and everything. But here, we're going to have these servitors. Now, I recommend getting rid of them first, because they're going to try to make stuff immune, and could potentially, you know, ruin your run, because next thing you know, you're trying to kill an enemy, you're about to die, you're one shot, and when you're about to hit that last hit on the enemy, the servitor is going to make them immune, and then, you know, you're not having a fun time. So we're going to deal with this. Make sure my heavy weapon is fully loaded, because I have just the worst habits of not reloading it. Then I got to do DPS, and then I'm reloading during that. So you can see here the final boss, but there are going to be additional ads that spawn, I believe. I do want to apologize for the dog barking in the background. Servers just came up like 20 minutes ago, so I've just jumped in and tried to make this video because servers were down since I think 11 today my time, and servers are usually reset at 1, so obviously it wasn't ideal. I'm taking a lot of void damage, so I'm going to back all the way up right now. Just wait a little bit to heal. And here, I'm probably just going to tether. You can see the servitor try to make them immune. Deal with them. Deal with those enemies. And that's pretty much it. You're going to have these little explosive units, I think, or never mind. Yeah, they are here, okay. Or you're going to notice they're not explosive, they're just regular ones, okay. So yeah, just deal with those, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty easy Lost Sector, I'm not going to lie. If you're farming, I highly recommend trying to go for this one, especially if you're a hunter. You can see this build makes it pretty much easy. There's a lot of heavy here, so if I wanted to, I could have used my machine gun for probably the whole thing. But I know the only rough spot was that barrier / overload champion combo they had going on earlier. But again, 5 minutes, 41 seconds, pretty good run. On the screen now, you're going to be seeing a playlist that has all the Lost Sectors. So from tomorrow and pretty much the rest of the season. If you need help with any of these, those videos will all be in a playlist for you. They're all at legend difficulty, not master, so keep that in mind. And that's going to do it for the video. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Drop a follow on my Twitch, twitch.tv/MonkishJams there. I will be going live later on tonight. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.